On the Wake Up Radio presents The Center with your host, DC Radical One.
All right. Greetings, friends, family, allies, and enemies. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. Your Spotify and iHeartRadio and on the Wake Up Radio. I saw Brother Elijah in here earlier, before the Straight Black Pride, Brother Elijah. Brother, let me know if you can hear me well, if the sound is coming through clear and the levels are balanced with the background music. And after the brother lets me know that, we'll get started. Before there to Brother Crow. Brother Crow, can you hear me clearly? And give me a 1 if you can hear me clearly. Tonight's show, I had trouble coming up with a topic. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to sleep on it. Now, I'm going to say this, and I probably said this before. I used to hear that saying. I used to hear Europeans say that, I'm going to sleep on it. I used to just, think it was a saying and actually thought it was kind of goofy. But as I got older, I decided more often to sleep on it. I'm going to be honest. If you sleep on it, if you like, man, I don't got no answers, I'm going to sleep on it. This is the God's honest truth. Your subconscious mind, or your brain, your mind will travel to the ancestral realm and come back with the answer. However it works, the sleeping on the thing actually kind of works. So I slept on it, and I woke up this morning and I said, I still don't have one. And then I stopped mid thought and I said, man, I gotta welcome people to the United States of Israel. That's what we're going to talk about. And so here we are. So tonight's discussion, man, is welcome to the United States of Israel. Now, if you've been listening to me for a long time, you've been following me, you've been following Brother Genie, you've been following Straight Black Pride, almost nothing that I'm going to say tonight is going to shock you, surprise you. And you probably heard it before at least once. Half the videos, and you've probably heard them, seen them before. But if you have not followed me, if you're new to the channel, some of the people that we got, the channel is growing as far as subscribers. And thank you to all the new subscribers. I hope the new subscribers come in and don't just subscribe and just show up every blue moon. I hope they come in and participate in tonight's show. We have subscribers that, we have subscribers coming in from other countries. We have subscribers coming in of other races. We have subscribers coming in of obviously differing political views. And I would like you all to join us in this discussion tonight. Why? Because everything that I'm going to discuss tonight affects everyone on earth. Now you're going to say, now come on, DC, there's nothing that affects everyone on earth. And I contend that is false. Reason number one, the United States is the most powerful nation on earth and has enough nuclear weapons to destroy most of the earth by itself. Is that true or false? If that is true, y'all put a 1 in the chat. Secondly, if the United States were to do that, then people like China and Russia would retaliate and thus ensure that almost everything on earth would be destroyed. Is that correct? Right. Number 3, Israel says if they are attacked, they will attack everyone, and that will cause, of course, World War III, when most of the things will be destroyed on planet Earth. Right. Are we getting a picture of how this works? Thus, what we're going to talk about tonight, because it involves the United States and Israel, affects everyone on Earth. Now, as we speak, ongoing, in the city that I'm in, the United States Congress is failing to do their job. There's no other way to say it. And you like, so I don't have to inform people of what I'm talking about there. Let's be clear. One of the essential jobs of the United States Congress, one of their most essential jobs, is to pass a budget. Hey man, listen. All of us have a budget. All of us. If we live in America, you got a budget. Whether it's a budget you write down, it's a budget you put in your phone, it's a budget you put in your laptop, it's a budget you got running in your head, but you know how much money you got. Whether you got one of those apps that alerts you to, hey, you spent, you know what I'm saying? Like you're within $100 of your budget for the week, and you like, man, it's Thursday at 8 a.m. What are you saying? You know what I'm saying? I still got incoming bill. But however it works, we all have a budget. You want to know whose budget never gets left off the table? That's right, Israel. See, your budget may or may not be affected by the government shutdown. If you live in Washington, D.C., there's a large chance that your budget is being affected. If you're in the U.S. military, yeah, your budget is being affected. Right? You work in the museum, your budget is being affected. If you work in one of these eateries or one of these shops in the downtown area, you don't know it yet, but your budget's going to be affected. Right? See, I saw it. I saw how it works and how it trickles down during the COVID. I saw it. So, and I'll be honest, most people don't know this, but the DC economy, especially the corporate real estate sector, has not fully recovered from COVID. That has not happened. Most people don't talk about it. Most people don't know it because you can't tell it unless you're in the buildings, because when you go past the building, you see the lobby. The lobby has people going back and forth. There's activity, so forth, so on. Or you go past and just looks like a regular office building. You don't know. But if you were able to go in the building, right? Let's say you're maintenance, or you're the cleaning crew, or you're security, and you go to the top of a building, like one of the higher buildings, and you look around you, you'd be shocked by the number of empty spaces in different office buildings in the city. Now y'all gonna ask DC, how you know? Hey man, listen. They don't call me DC for nothing. Been here for a long time, seen a whole lot of stuff. Been a lot of different places around this city. Know a few people, right? So you're gonna say, well, what's the point? The point is, while people in this city are struggling, right? And while people in this country are struggling, I remind you, many people never, self-included, never recovered from the whole COVID thing. And Brother Crow says, working at the airport as an air traffic controller, your budget will definitely be affected. Hey, man, listen. That air traffic controller thing has been bananas ever since Ronald Reagan fired everybody, breaking their contract. that's been I'm surprised. I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm surprised way more people haven't been killed on airplanes in America. The way we treat air traffic controllers and that whole infrastructure, like we don't give that the proper respect at all. And when I say we, I don't know what I'm saying. We, but I'm saying America, right? So those people, their budget is being affected, and as time goes on, people, there's people, healthcare premiums going up, and other things start going up, and you start having less air traffic controllers, and the Homeland Security people that that check you before you get on the airplane and all that stuff. As all this stuff goes on, it's been I believe 2 weeks. More and more people will be affected, but Israel's not affected. I looked it up to see. I was like, let me see, because I saw somebody say that Israel is not affected. So I was like, let me see. And this is it. I lost some of my. Yeah, here we go. This is the AI over. I asked a question. Let's look at this real quick. I said, hey, why does Israel get money during the government shutdown? Mr. AI says, during the government shutdown, U.S. aid to Israel continues because it is classified as a military and security-related expenditure. It is considered an essential government function. Unlike many federal programs that rely on annual appropriations and are suspended during a shutdown, these defense-related payments are made from funds that are not affected by a lapse in appropriations. This status is attributed to a number of factors. The U.S. government views military and security expenditures, particularly those tied to foreign defense, as an essential function that must continue operating to maintain U.S. strategic alliances and national security interests. Let us stop right there. Listen, can we be honest here? Can we be honest here? The United States has no interest in the Middle East. Look at the map. Remember when Mr. Bush used to say, we're fighting for our freedoms, and somebody said, how did my freedoms get over there? He said that after they made the Patriot Act, which curtailed your freedoms. Like, think about it. Blowing up other countries at a time where they are making laws, and I didn't bring that up. They're making laws to curtail the First Amendment, right? They sold TikTok to, in essence, sold TikTok to Israel because people were on TikTok criticizing Israel. Well, you ain't got to worry about that now. You ain't gonna be able to do that. Think about it. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen, is this microphone on? The government of the United States banned a social media platform, took it from its original owner, and sold it to the quote-unquote ally because the ally was being criticized on the social media platform. Take all the time you need to process the information that I just did. If that's not a way to circumvent any laws dealing with the First Amendment, I don't know what it is. But in reality, it makes it, since the government was involved, to me, it makes it a First Amendment violation. In my humble opinion, I'm not a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? We need an attorney to ask that question. And apparently, no attorney is asked that question. Now, the censorship there has just started. But if they can get away with the censorship there, then where else would they not? Would they be able to get away with the censorship? get away with the censorship. And it's not just social media, right? I've done shows before where I talked about they wanted to, there's certain parts of the Bible that they wanted to offend. Because, and I don't believe in the Bible, I'll say this. The idea, let me say something. The idea that Christians think that there's a thing called Christian Zionism. Christians who are supposed to be Protestants. When Martin Luther wrote a book called, look, don't give me the strike, because I'm telling you the name of the book. Martin Luther, the Protestant reformer, wrote a book called The Jews and Their Lies. Oh, you don't believe me? I'm gonna play some video clips of that. I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna show y'all the book. Martin Luther, the great reformer, the man that's the foundation of modern Christianity, wrote a book called The Jews and Their Lies. And people claim to be Protestants, believing in something called Christian nationalism. Now, one of these people is confused. I don't know which one it is. Either Martin Luther is confused, or the people who, in essence, are following him are confused. But let's look at it now. More so than that, according to the Talmud, Yeshu is burning in damnation. You like, well, who's Yeshu? Well, the letter J didn't come around until I believe the 15th century. So Yeshu actually be Jesus. This is according to the Talmud. This ain't according to DC. DC don't believe in none of that. Now, I know somebody like, wait, what you mean? What I'm saying is, do I have it up? Or did I lost all my I had a glitch with my computer and I lost all my stuff. So, okay, nope, I don't have it up. I'm going to play some clips. I'm going to play a clip and I'm going to find it. I'm going to bring it up. The Babylonian Talmud, the holy book of the Jewish people, for one of them, I'll say, says that Jesus is burning in that. I mean, look, man. We just get straight to the point. You can't, what the Bible says, you can't serve two masters. You either serve in the synagogue and sleep, if you're a Christian, or you serving the Lord. All my Christians, especially Christian nationalists, good old white folk, because I should have put Charlie Kirk back and y'all would have really showed up. Because you saying America, I've heard this for years. White people say America's a Christian nation. It's a Christian nation. Christian nation. Right? Which we always sounded like if people saying white. All right, whatever. I'm not a Christian. Okay. I was talking to a European female. We were talking about the government and everything, politics, and so on. So I said, yeah, I have an outsider's view because I'm not an American. And she looked at me. Before all day, straight Black Friday. And told me, I'm not an American. And she looked at me, but it looked like, well, your accent's very good. I said, I'm a prisoner of war. And I said, and you're intelligent enough to understand what I say. To understand what I mean when I say it. And she, because once I found out what she does, and professionally, she knew exactly what I mean. She wasn't no, she wasn't no dummy. You know what I'm saying? She knew exactly what I mean. And she accepted it. You know what I'm saying? See, I'm gonna tell you, a lot of Europeans like to play dumb when it comes to the real history of this nation. And a lot of them are dumb. You know what I'm saying? But that's two different groups of people. When you talk to them, you gotta know who you're dealing with. And don't get me started on the members of the synagogue of Satan, because they know good and well, because their parents pass on the history, right? So they really know. That's why they get mad when you tell the truth. Because when you tell the truth, the reason they get mad, because they're like, wait a minute, he's exposing us. Notice, I remember way back in the day, for those of you all who are old enough to remember, way back in the day, I'm talking about 30 years ago, Nation of Islam came up with the secret relationship between blacks and Jews, which we didn't know was volume 1 at the time. It was just, secret relationship with blacks and Jews. And the book comes out, and they're like, oh, this book is lies and blasphemy and this and that and that. And then basically Mr. Farrakhan said, and we have sources from Jewish scholars. And everybody started getting quiet after that. You know what I mean? It's just like, if we don't talk about it, maybe everybody forget. And the book had history and showing the Jewish involvement in the slave trade. And you had all these Jewish people under different names, some under English names, and some under Portuguese names, and some under Spanish names. And they were all the same people. And you like, whoa, wait a minute. Right? Then the nation comes back like a decade after that. Secret relationship between blacks and Jews, volume 2. Then they came back with secret relationship, Jews selling blacks. Now, if you were literate, you could figure that you could still see that one, because that was pictures. It was advertisements of us being up for sale by the Jewish owners. Right? I got a copy of all of them. So, those people in America who have studied have a clear understanding of how Jewish people can be the aggressor and the oppressor as much as they claim to be the victim. Black people who know themselves and their enemies are the biggest threat to the synagogue of Satan's hegemony over America. Because we know the truth, and we can bring the documentation. As I've said before, and I took it from somebody else, documentation-based conversation. Right? That's why when you see, occasionally, like you'll see some quote-unquote Jewish people debating some black person, and the black person knows what they talking about. Them debates don't last too long. You know what I'm saying? You get one of these Hebrew brothers, Captain Tazariak, one of them people, they get to rattling off the Bible and talk about the history and this and that. Or you get some Nation of Islam minister and they get to rattling off the Bible and talking about this and this and that. And them debates be over real quick. I was seen way back in the day. Grandmaster teacher, Dr. Yusuf Ben Yakinet. I mean, turn a Jewish scholar inside out and upside down. He had him all types of confusion. That man couldn't defend himself. He like, come on, man, this is crazy, right? So that's the foundation for this discussion tonight. Brother Crow said those are great books. So is Brother IG's books about Tony Martin. Yeah, oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I thought I had an advertisement for Genius, but apparently I don't have it on file. But it was gonna go up tonight. Like the channel's gonna be shut down this night if I put that up. But I was gonna put it up. I just put it up because I had something else. So now, since my hypothesis is that this is the United States of Israel, you're gonna say, well, DC, prove it. The first thing we're gonna look at is AIPAC. Now, somebody gonna say, what is AIPAC? The American Israeli Public Affairs Committee. I have talked about AIPAC before in previous shows. I wish I remember the title of the show so I could tell y'all to just go back. But AIPAC is probably the most powerful lobby, and they have shaped the course and policy of U.S. politics over the last couple of decades. And the biggest, I put it like this, since the beginning of the 21st century, starting with September 11th, 2001, AIPAC has largely been in control, or I'll say the foreign policy of America has largely been controlled by Israel. This is what it is, right? Now, because think about it, after 9/11 I brought that clip up before, I forgot about it. You had people in the government when the United States was talking about they were going to attack Saddam. They were literally like you had intelligence people like, oh wait, what? Did I miss something? They found some evidence that Saddam was involved, and they're like, nah. Like literally, they're like, nah. You're like, what do we do? And I don't know. They just said, they're going to attack, remove Saddam. And all right, so think about it. If you're in the government, you're in intelligence, you have the intelligence that says Saddam is not involved in it, and then they say they're going to, get rid of Saddam, and you want to get rid of this one and that one and these other countries. At some point, it should dawn on you, like, well, wait a minute, right? These aren't people that we got beef with, so who are these people? Before they straight black, straight black, right? It should dawn on you. And when you look at that thing, and what General Wesley Clark was talking about, the 7 countries to be destroyed, and you see the destruction of Libya, which caused an uptick in the black enslavement or in the enslavement of black people in the Arab controlled part of North Africa, right? Because that's what happened. I've talked about that before. I've shown the slave market in North Africa, where black people are being bought and sold as slaves, thanks to the destruction of the country of Libya by Barack Hussein Obama, who did it at the behest of Israel. He was a slave. But as big a slave as he was, the biggest slave as Biden was, right? Remember the Biden laptop didn't exist, and then it did exist, then it didn't exist. Yeah, that's because Mossad had the laptop. So they can make it appear and disappear at will. Right? None of these people are as big a slave as Donald J. Trump. Now somebody was saying, man, hold up, DC. How are you gonna say Trump is a slave? What do you mean? Trump is a free man. He do what he want. He big and bad. Okay. Trump's main man is who? Who was his main man while he was in New York? Jeffrey Epstein. That's his man, right? Jeffrey Epstein dealing in child trafficking. Right? I mean, if my ace was a drug dealer, you know what I'm saying? And 10 years later, I was running for office. Y'all be like, hey, hold up. Wasn't your ace like the biggest drug dealer in DC? Like, ain't that your number one homeboy? Ain't this you and him in his Lexus? Ain't this you and him on this yacht? Ain't this you and him? Like, you know what I'm saying? Y'all be like, you was talking all that stuff about how much you hate drug dealers, but this your bad. I don't know what's going on, right? Trump, the same thing. So I'm gonna kick it off with this because I don't want y'all to think I am simply sitting here making up stuff. I'm going to let you listen to John, I believe his name, John Mersheimer. I'm gonna let him bring it up, and then we go. And I just want to get this out the way because listen, once I realized, because I had forgot about the Trump Epstein connection, I didn't know it was that deep. Once I realized the reality of it, I was like, so, y'all know what it is. We just gonna get it started relatively early. It is what it is. Here we go.
And his behavior towards Israel. And you look at his behavior before he became president, there's good reason to think that the Israelis have the goods on him, and that they've made it clear to him that if he gets tough on Israel, they'll reveal certain things. One also can hypothesize that given his very close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and the fact that Jeffrey Epstein recorded so much of his interactions with other people, and those other people's interactions with young girls and with young women, that maybe there's something there. The problem is that we don't have the evidence, so you can't say for sure that Trump is being blackmailed. But there is enough circumstantial evidence that one has the sense, and I'm choosing my words carefully here, one has the sense that that may be the case. And then the final point I'd make to you is, I find it quite amazing the extent to which both Democrats and Republicans are unwilling to release the Epstein files. You really wonder what's in there. I mean, they just do not, whether you're talking about Democrats or Republicans, they just do not want those files to see the day of light. And when you sort of come to understand what Epstein was doing, and we know what he was doing in general, we don't know the particulars regarding individuals like Bill Clinton or Donald Trump, but we don't know all the particulars. You begin to think that maybe the reason that Trump is fighting mightily to keep the Epstein files under wraps, and that the reason that the Biden administration never used the Epstein files on Donald Trump was because so many different people from both parties are implicated in what's in those files. It just, common sense tells you that that's at least a possibility, and maybe that's likely. But when I watch Trump, and given what I know about Trump's history of behavior towards women, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they're blackmailing him.
I heard you also mention something about the Democrats, because as you pointed out, Biden wasn't interested in releasing files either.
It may be the case. I don't know about Biden. It's just hard to say. I mean, we know that the Israelis have a rich history of spying on people and using the information that they find to blackmail individuals. And by the way, Israel's not the only country that does this, but most people seem to think that the Israelis are better than everybody else at gaining information, compromising information on individuals, and then using that to blackmail them. But again, I can't say this is true because we don't have the evidence. But all I would say is, when I look at the circumstantial evidence and I look at how Trump behaves, Trump envisions himself as a tough guy. He does not like to be pushed around. And if you look at how he treats every other country on the planet, he slaps all of them around. He treats all of them with a heavy dose of contempt, including our allies. There's only one exception, and that's Israel. Israel stands out like a sore thumb. He never gets tough with Israel. He occasionally pretends that he does, but then he backs off. And you ask yourself, Why is that the case? He's supposed to be Mr. Tough Guy. He's supposed to be capable of pushing people around who get in his way, get in America's way. He's an American firster. And here's this country that is contradicting him at different turns. And he doesn't get tough with them at all. He gets tough with countries that don't do anything, that try to appease him. There are all sorts of countries in the system like Japan, South Korea, Switzerland. They're all, the British, they're bending over backwards to appease Donald Trump because they understand how powerful he is. Do you see the Israelis do that? No. Do you see Benjamin Netanyahu do that? No. Do you see Trump getting tough with them? No. And you just sort of say to yourself, why is that the case? And then when you think about the blackmail angle and you think about the big kerfuffle involving Jeffrey Epstein, you sort of say to yourself, maybe there is something there.
You start to say to yourself, maybe there is something there. You know what I'm saying? Again, that's not, in case you don't know, that was not DC talking. Right? Yeah. That is the president of the United States. Now, what could they have on the president of the United States? Well, let's go back to this. And we ain't gonna go through the whole article. We just gonna look at it. Woman suing Trump over alleged teen violation drop suits again. Hey, wait, what you mean, huh? Lawsuit, violation, teens. What the heck is going on? A woman who accused Donald J. Trump of violating her 2 decades ago when she was a 13-year-old aspiring teen model has again dropped a federal lawsuit over the alleged assault. Let's start right here. Teen model? What would Trump have anything to do with a teen model? Oh, wait a minute. Didn't Mr. Trump, wasn't he in charge of beauty pageants for a while? Wasn't that one of his jobs? And y'all put a 1 in the chat if I'm remembering correctly that Trump was in charge of beauty pageants. And if somebody wants to look it up and let me know, right? Trump was in charge of beauty pageants. He used to walk around and look at women and talked about it. Like, yeah, man, you know, I enjoy this. This is fun. Mr. Epstein was in charge of trafficking. I mean, is what we're talking about far-fetched? All right, let's read the article. Anyway. Now, it says the accuser identified in the lawsuit by the pseudonym Jane Doe was expected to appear at a news conference in Los Angeles Wednesday, but that appearance was abruptly canceled. By the way, the alleged name of this young lady is believed to be Katie Johnson, or maybe that is a pseudonym, but that's a name that I have seen. The lawyer who organized the event, Lisa Bloom, said Trump's accuser had received threats and was too frightened to show up. In the most recent suit, Trump's accuser asserted that while she was exploring a modeling career in 1994, at this point now, that would be 31 years ago, she attended a series of parties at the Manhattan home of prominent investor Jeffrey Epstein, who we know is a Mossad asset. We have covered that extensively. She alleges that during those parties, the real estate mogul tied her to a bed and committed a most heinous act. She also claimed that Epstein enjoyed the festivities as well. The accuser's lead attorney, Thomas Mayer of New Jersey, did not immediately respond to requests for comment, filed a 1-page notice dismissing the case Friday evening in federal court in Manhattan. No explanation was given for the action. Bloom did not immediately return requests for comment. Due to his attorney, Trump has flatly denied the woman's allegations. Let me say this. I'm gonna recall something that I thought about a long time ago. Do y'all remember when before Trump was running for office, how much media coverage he was given, and it was in the air that he might run? And how, even though they was calling him all types of names, it wasn't stopping him from showing like everything he said. Y'all remember that? Thus boosting his Q rating as if setting him up to run for office. And at the time I worked I worked somewhere that had a bunch of TVs everywhere. Right? So like literally, like you go upstairs to that section that had TVs, you go downstairs to that section that had TVs. You know what I'm saying? On that level, they had the main level, they had bigger TVs. So I just remember like always seeing them. And at that time, remember the racial incidents that were taking place. And this is way before George Floyd. This was in between Trayvon Martin and George Floyd, like Mike Brown and all this other stuff was popping off. Y'all remember that time? I know all the black people. Trump used to be on TV a lot, and I used to be like, why are they covering him so much if they hate him so much? Those two things weren't adding up. Now I understand. So they was prepping him for this position, knowing they had leverage on him from 20 years before that. Man, they tell you something, man. These people are playing. Whatever that chess on Star Trek, where you got the boards on different levels, that's what they playing. They playing like 4D chess, 5D chess. And we just sitting here, you know what I'm saying, wondering what's going on, which way did he go type of thing. So they got leverage on him. Now I wish I had saved it. I saw another video that basically said Trump was scared of Netanyahu. Which I ain't gonna lie, y'all. But at the same time, yeah, you know, it's understandable. But see, it depends on the type of person you're dealing with. I'm gonna be honest. If I'm the president and you make me scared, I'm blowing something up. Sorry. If you make me fear for my life and I'm the president of the United States and I have nuclear weapons, I'm not going out by myself. That's all I'm saying. I ain't the one. You know what I'm saying? Especially considering the whole Kennedy situation. Nah, absolutely not. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. If I fear for my life, for a foreign government or whatever, we all can leave here together, but I'm not leaving by myself. Absolutely not. I have the full power of the United States military behind me? No, sir. I ain't. You make me that scared. Look, do I have to say it? Ain't gonna be no Israel if I was that scared, if I was the president. Oh, y'all might get me. But that nuclear football, I'm gonna hand it over. Sir, if you do this, I'm the listen. Whatever. I know they got the office bugged. I know they got a sniper somewhere. You've probably been paid to take me out. But can you take me out before I press this button? That's the question. You know what I'm saying? That would be the discussion in the Oval Office. I'm not going to be punked by no little small country if I'm the president of the United States. It's not going to happen. But see, we haven't elected a man in a long time. See, I give credit where credit is due. John Fitzgerald Kennedy was a man. That's why he ain't breathing. Robert was a man. That's why he ain't breathing. It's been a long time since we elected some men out here. That's right. Ooh, if this house going down, this house going down. And it's one thing I realized from the Charlie Kirk situation, right? It's one thing I realized from the Charlie Kirk situation. Charlie Kirk was, in essence, the Black Lives Matter of the right wing. Now, somebody was like, "What, DC? What are you talking about?" Listen, Black Lives Matter was an astroturf movement that was funded by Zionists. We all know that. We know that. In fact, we know the man's name, George Soros. Straight Black Pride exposed that. you know, like 2 years into the Black Lives Matter. But we did go to their website, so researchers from there. It was like, hey man, this thing fake. This ain't real. Charlie Kirk was as astroturf as Black Lives Matter. And it's one thing I realized. I realized there is no authentic grassroots movement in America at this time that has any significant following. Why? Because astroturf movements get the funding. Right? Now y'all gonna say, well, DC, what does Charlie Kirk have to do with Israel? Let me just put it right here. I'm gonna just play Charlie Kirk and let you listen to it, and then we go on for it. Ain't no need for me to, you know. I'm just gonna let people talk, even if they ain't breathing no more. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna listen to Charlie Kirk. And I believe that this is why he ain't breathing right now. Oh, one of the reasons, let me say.
From Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. Wow. 6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say, stand down? That is a legitimate, non-conspiracy question. The whole country is the IDF. I've been to Israel many times. The whole country is a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still have the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that is an IDF soldier. Right? The whole country is surveilled. And so let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu was basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an exaggeration, right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand down order? Was there a stand down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it. Israel's the size of New Jersey. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. Wow. 6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say, stand down? That is a legitimate, non-conspiracy question.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was Charlie Kirk questioning the official narrative of October 7th. Right? He's saying there's no way that it should have taken that long for any IDF soldiers to respond to the massacre and the kidnapping of Israelis that took place on October 7th, because the country's not that big. So he's asking, did somebody say stand down? Right? Candace Owens was one of the first people to say that Charlie Kirk turned down $150 million from Benjamin Netanyahu. Now you're gonna say, well, DC, what this got to do with the government? Charlie Kirk was basically the leader of the largest mainstream youth right-wing movement in America, bar none. He was going on from college campus to college campus to college campus, spreading his right-wing ideology, debating young people, right? And receiving boatloads of money from donors, many of them who happen to be Israelis, and most of them who happen to be pro-Israel. Right? So even if he was sincere at the beginning, in the end, he's bought and paid for by those who say they are and are not, but indeed are the synagogue of Satan. Right? Now think about it. Think about the ramifications of what he said, though. This is or his question. If Charlie Kirk is correct, and someone in the Israeli government gave a stand-down order for the IDF not to respond in order for the massacre, quote unquote, to be bigger than it is, remember what happened after that. That allowed Israel to lay waste to Gaza and to slaughter tens of thousands of Palestinians and to eventually take the land. Right? Now, somebody will say, well, DC, we don't like Arabs anyway, so why should we care? Aha! That's an excellent question. Think about it. If these people can live stream a genocide for months at a time in Palestine, and they have control of America, who is the main people in the similar position to Palestinians in Israel? Oh, yeah, that's right, black people. Most hated, unwanted, got a claim to the land because we've been here longer than America even existed, right? Because enslavement didn't start in 1776. We have enslaved black people that have been here since the 1500s. We have explorers that have come to this place since at least the 13th century, minimum. We have documentation from European scholars saying that people came from North Africa in, I think, the 1st century CE. There are others with documentation that people came from ancient Kemet 3,000 years ago and explored. So our ancestors are well aware of this place and have come here back and forth and have traded with so-called native people and so forth and so on. So if there's any people who have a claim to the piece of this country who are also the most hated and the people that people want to get rid of, that would be black people. What makes you think that if Israel is in charge and they just got away with live streaming a genocide, what makes you think that they wouldn't suggest that to the government of the United States to get rid of their Negro problem? Is this microphone on? Are you starting to get the picture yet? That's why it should matter to black people. Because it sets a precedent of making genocide normal, a normal way for you to deal with a group of people that you don't like. And I'm going to tell you the next place I think where they're going to try to normalize it and show it is in Haiti. Now, the Haitian people, right? We seen General Barbecue. I think I had clips of him before. He said that Syrian and Lebanese Jews, and those are his words, are the people trying to take over Haiti and exploit their resources. I ain't said that's what he said. I ain't never been to Haiti. I ain't even never thought about going to Haiti for real. But that's what a man on the ground there fighting for liberation said. Oh, y'all fight, man, these Syrian Lebanese Jews. Huh? What are you talking about? Hey man, look, I'm telling you, that's what they said they came from. So that's what I'm fighting. That's what he said. Now who they got down there? They got Eric Prince down there. Right? Eric Prince, the provisional government that has not been voted in by anybody, the provisional government of Haiti, as Eric Prince, who's basically a war criminal, who's unindicted, in charge of trying to remove black people out of Haiti. And black people here, we ain't even talking about it. I covered the situation with the drones. They already got the drone program up and running. They already blew up women and children. Who you heard it from? Who talked about it other than me? You think you can escape this global genocide machine that is ginning up? You are sadly mistaken. Definitely can't escape it here in the hills of North America. Ain't no doubt about it. Because you're in the United States of Israel. Right? You're gonna say, well, DC, man, you talk about, man, they got control of the government, man. You talking about they okay, you know, maybe they got Trump or whatever. But I'm saying we got like 435 members of Congress or whatever. Like, what about them people? I'm glad you asked. I can show you better than I can tell you. So, again, man, we're just gonna let the video do the talk.
Why does the U.S. support Israel so staunchly? Shared values? A military outpost in the Middle East? Or an unending apology for Holocaust? Any of them or all of them would be the answer. Yet, it is noteworthy that the U.S. politicians, whether today or in the past, whether they be Republican or Democrat, vehemently pledge support to any Israeli action. This support goes much beyond alliance, but becomes the embracement of Israel's sick-minded Zionism.
You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, and I'm a Zionist.
And we're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make America great again. We're going to make them both great again, greater than ever before.
As long as I'm a United States Senator, I will do everything in my power to ensure broad and bipartisan support for Israel's security.
Less than a month left for the U.S. elections, the same question keeps minds occupied. Is the U.S. politics strangled by pro-Israeli lobbies? Looking at the consequences of their activities, such as unseating certain politicians or ensuring further monetary aid from the government, the answer seems to be yes.
Good morning, AIPAC.
AIPAC, American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee, which is the biggest pro-Israeli group, but ironically ineligible to make any donations, has already officially spent more than $100 million in the electoral races via guiding individuals or registered lobby groups. Existing in the U.S. for almost half-century, AIPAC basically pushes members of Congress, presidents, and other elected officials to pass policies that unconditionally support Israel. Up to today, the staunchest supporters of Israel within U.S. politics have received enormous donations from AIPAC, including the U.S. President Joe Biden, the now bribery-convicted Robert Menendez, Hillary Clinton, John McCain, Ted Cruz, and so on. But AIPAC is not only this. Let's give an ear to American-Palestinian journalist and author Ramzi Baroud, who believes AIPAC is more than a simple lobby and has bypassed U.S. policy-making mechanisms entirely.
What is happening between Israel and the United States is not exactly lobbying in that sense. In fact, the largest, supposedly the most powerful lobby groups of them all, AIPAC, is not even registered as a foreign lobby group, as if you are part of the domestic politics of America. And this is, I think, is the greatest achievement of the so-called Israel lobby. Is not, number one, their ability to behave in a way that made Israel a domestic issue in American politics.
Furthermore, Baroud argues that most of American policymakers themselves were acting like a pro-Israel lobbyist.
The neoconservatives, which is the powerful ruling elite that had a great sway of power over American foreign policy during the George Bush administration, they are essentially all pro-Israel lobbyists. Many of them had dual citizenships. Many of them worked for Israeli organizations, Israeli companies, played the roles of advisors within the Israeli government, close to Benjamin Netanyahu and others. And they were yet the ones presented to the American public through American media, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, and all the rest. They presented themselves as, good old Americans.
Obviously, the most striking example was Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who declared his support for Israel as a Jew.
I come before you not only as the United States Secretary of State, but also as a Jew.
My apologies, brothers and sisters. I was looking up something and I thought the clip was longer than it is. So my apologies. But I think we got an understanding, right, of what's going on. Do we have any, before I move forward, do we have any doubt about the power of Israel to control large swaths of the United States of America? If we have covered that, y'all let me know. Put a 1 in the chat. If we need any clarification, y'all let me know. Right now, let us move forward. We're gonna go through this article quickly. How does AIPAC shape Washington? We tracked every dollar. This is from, who's this from? The Intercept. So this was back last year. It says, for decades, the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee has been an influential presence on Capitol Hill, working behind the scenes to lobby politicians and their staffers in support of Israel. But ahead of the 2022 midterm elections, AIPAC made a decision that would fundamentally alter its purpose and contours of American politics. After 60 years of issues-based lobbying, AIPAC for the first time opted to spend directly on campaigns. Flushed with millions of dollars from loyal donors, among them Republican billionaires and mega donors to former President Donald Trump, AIPAC embraced a new strategy. It would use its vast funds to oust progressive members of Congress who have criticized human rights abuses by Israel and the country's receipts of billions of US dollars in military funding. Just 2 years after it started pouring money into campaigns, AIPAC has become one of the largest outside spenders in congressional elections. The Intercept has chronicled AIPAC's power through the coverage of individual races, but never before has AIPAC's massive outflow of money been analyzed in sum. This project uses records from the Federal Elections Committee submitted by the lobbying group's Federal Political Action Committee, AIPAC, PAC, and the Super PAC United Democracy Project to map out how much money has been spent on behalf of Israel, where these groups are doling out money, and what impact those funds are having on the balance of power in Congress. It says that AIPAC has spent money on more than 80% of the 469 seats up for re-election this year. 80%. When it rolled out its new strategy in 2022 election cycle, AIPAC found immediate success. The lobbying group and another pro-Israel group, Democratic Majority for Israel, defeated Representatives Andy Levin, who looked like he would be Jewish, right, by the name, and Marie Newman, who were outspoken in their criticism of the unconditional U.S. military funding of Israel. The campaign to defeat Levin marked a significant push from AIPAC to repress criticism of Israel, even from Jewish members of Congress. Okay, I was right. And that's rough. If the Jewish members of Congress, if they can't speak out, then we already know the non-Jewish members ain't got no hope, right? So that means they literally Oh, y'all, why didn't somebody tell me I forgot my music? My bad. Music. That own people into shape. Let us move forward. Ahead of the 2024 cycle and amid the public outrage over Israel's war on Gaza, AIPAC made a bold pronouncement. Through its United Democracy Project arm and AIPAC PAC, it would spend $100 million, about 1/6 of what outside groups spent on the 2020 presidential election. Right? There are a few congressional races that AIPAC set out this year. Again, they saw influence over 363 seats in the House and 26 seats in the Senate. That's 1/4 of the Senate. Of the 389 candidates that AIPAC funded, 57 did not face a primary. Of the primary elections that took place, 88 had no opponent. So basically, that would be in essence what, 145 that they funded that didn't even have face opposition in the primary. And then it says funding both parties. AIPAC's approach to electoral spending is bipartisan. So there's no need for us to argue about for us to argue about this party or the left or the right or the Republican and Democrat, and none of it, all that's irrelevant. The group has funded Republican, Democrat, and independents alike. AIPAC supported 233 Republicans for a total of more than 17 million in funds, 152 Democrats who received more than 28 million in funds. So less Democrats, but more money. And 3 independents, Joe Manchin of West Virginia, Kirsten Sinema of Arizona, and Angus King of Maine, who each got just under $300,000 between them. I thought individually. Okay. So that is the type of money that we're talking about. I'm not going to go any further in that article because I covered it in the previous show. Right? But if you want to understand how this works and how controlled they are, I'm going to go to another person that I don't like, Matt Gaetz. So y'all can see, I'm showing you how unbiased I am. I'm bringing people that I don't like to the table. Right? I didn't know Charlie Kirk that well. I had seen him, when I saw him, I was like, okay, I've seen this before. Or this type of movie. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't no fan of him, but you know what I'm saying? Truth is truth. We're going to deal with the truth. Right? Just like we dealt with the truth then, we're going to deal with the truth here. This story is wild. And of course, we got video. Right? Matt Gaetz. Y'all remember Matt Gaetz, right? Matt Gaetz says members of Congress have to wear demoralizing QR codes for AIPAC donors to scan like a can of tomato soup. Hey, bro, I can't wait. You want to know how controlled the government is? Check this out. Former Representative of Florida Matt Gaetz claimed on Wednesday that he and other members of Congress had to wear demoralizing QR codes at an American Israel Public Affairs Committee reception so donors could scan them like a can of tomatoes. Discussing his recent criticism of the pro-Israel lobby organization AIPAC during an appearance on Tim Pool's podcast, Timcast. I saw the way AIPAC worked, and that was weird for like a country lawyer like me. I remember my first AIPAC reception. And like your fundraiser tells you that you have to go, and your chief of staff tells you have to go, and your committee chairman, they all tell you have to go. And you get there and you wear this name badge, and I remember there's a QR code on it. And we were supposed to do was go talk to the donors, and then if they liked you, they scan the QR code to make a donation, like on the spot. Like, can you just imagine how demoralizing that is? Like to be told that your job for the next several hours is to go chat people up, to be told that your job, chat people up hoping that they would scan you like a can of tomato soup. So on the way out of the meeting, he continued. So I saw this and I was like, yo, this is weird. And then I was in Israel. I went multiple times and I did not like the fact that I found someone in my room rooting around in my stuff. They shouldn't have been there. It's the King David Hotel. When I came back to my room, no one's expecting me to be back in my room. I don't know who it was. I just thought like, yo, this is weird. It's concluded all of these things combined are odd, and then the policy outgrowth seems to be an obsession about the Middle East that has not disturbed my generation. Well, AIPAC denied Gates' claim in a social media post, writing the accusation about our fundraisers is of course a lie. Barcodes are name tags for security reasons, not fundraising, and are scanned for that purpose. Maybe Matt Gates was confused because we wanted people to scan his barcode. They didn't even talk to him. Somebody's lying. Now, I'll be honest. Do I think Matt Gates would lie about something like this? Actually, I don't. Do I think Matt Gates would just lie in general? Oh, absolutely. There ain't no question about that. I don't think he would lie about this. I think Israel will lie about this. Absolutely. Right? Ain't no question about it. But look, even though we read it, we're going to listen to Matt Gates say it. B voted, brother, you got ripped off. Good to see you. Okay, that explains some stuff. Hey, man, try to catch up with you in between you making that money, man. But it's good to hear from you. Good to hear that you are safe. Yeah, but had to shout out one brother. So yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, we're gonna hear Matt Gates in his own words. Give me a second to find this clip of Matt Gates.
I resented the fact that there was no appreciation for nuance. Like if you asked any questions about any decision of the Israeli government in any place regarding settlements, regarding Gaza, whatever, you were like, you had deviated from the script. And I just, in any policy area, I had resentment over that. And then I saw the way the AIPAC worked, and that was weird for like a country lawyer like me. I remember my first AIPAC reception, and like your fundraiser tells you have to go, and your chief of staff tells you have to go, your committee chairman all tell you have to go, and you get there and you wear this name badge, and I remember there's a QR code on it, and what we were supposed to do was go talk to donors, and then if they liked you, they scanned your QR code to make a donation, like on the spot. And so can you just imagine how demoralizing that is to like be told that your job for the next several hours to go chat people up, hoping they would scan you like a can of tomato soup on the way out of the meeting.
I mean, it's literally purchasing.
Right. And so I saw that and I was like, wow, that is so freaking weird. And then, I was in Israel. I went multiple times, and I did not like the fact that I found someone in my room rooting around in my stuff that should not have been there at the King David Hotel when I came back to my room when no one was expecting me to be back in my room. And I just
presumably Israeli law enforcement.
I don't know who it was. I just thought, like, this is weird. All of these things combined are odd, and then the policy outgrowth seems to be an obsession about the Middle East that has not served my generation well. I just don't.
Yeah, so that was Matt Gates. So y'all don't think I was making up stuff. Now, this is a former congressman congressman who I vehemently disagree with his policy. But he told us absolutely what goes on behind closed doors when people go to Israel. Like, think about it. Think about how many presidents we've seen at that wall. And you don't even think about it, right? And you see them at that wall, and they're wearing a yarmulke, and they bowing down and whatever. And I did it happens so much. I don't think anybody even questions it. But you should question it, because if you're a Christian, right? All the presidents have allegedly been Christians, although some of them been Freemasons and not Christians, but that's a whole another story. Because the Freemasonry was, I ain't gonna go there. Y'all can guess though what I'm about to say. All right, hold on. Let me put up Brother Crow. Brother Crow, $5 super chat says, many of our people believe Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas is for our people. But our people do not know that she is controlled by us. Brother, I'm so glad you said that. Because this is how weird this thing is, right? There's another, because what you said is going to point me to another person. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jasmine Crockett have been going back and forth. Now, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, European country girl, rough looking in the face, early, you know, she left a lot of boots or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Irritating voice. Do I like Marjorie Taylor Greene? Nah, not particularly. Do I like Jasmine Crockett? Nah, not particularly. I don't, you know. Y'all know I love natural hair, so they don't have natural hair. I'm just whatever. I kind of disregard them. You know what I'm saying? And probably what it is. But yeah, I saw Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she's like, "Yo, man, how come Israel can get their money, but you know what I'm saying? We got Americans that are struggling, and Israel healthcare and this and that, and so forth and so on, and American people are struggling, and the cost of living, and blah blah blah, blah blah blah." And I don't have that clip, unfortunately. But I'm gonna ask a question. Y'all tell me: as Marjorie Taylor, as Jasmine Crockett talked about Israel receiving money and black people struggling? I'm asking a question. I don't know. Like, this is not rhetorical. This is a legitimate question. As Jasmine Crockett talked about Israel's control over the Congress, as she talked about the Epstein files and releasing them to include the ones that deal with William Jefferson Clinton, as well as Donald J. Trump. Again, I'm asking. Because somebody's going to ask, hey man, what do you mean William Jefferson Clinton? William Jefferson? Oh, never mind. Yeah, there's a painting of Clinton wearing a blue dress in Jeffrey Epstein's house. Bro, I can't make this stuff up. I can't make this stuff up. Now, in dealing with Clinton very quickly, those of us who are old enough to remember when he was running for office, Clinton running for office was accused of all types of lascivious activity with women who basically they came out and were like, this guy should not get elected. He's this and that. He's a philanderer. He cheating on his wife. He violated this woman or the woman come out saying he did X, Y, Z to me. And all types of stuff. And Clinton won a race. What for a minute was a 3-person race with Bush Sr. and Ross Perot. Right? Like Ross Perot was talking about the deficit and this and that, and was building momentum, and then he cut his thing short. Then he tried to come back. Like that, the Ross Perot thing was weird. It always, I look back at it now, and I'm like, did somebody intimidate him? Because Ross Perot could have changed that race. I'm not saying he could have won, but he could have changed that race. Right? And now, don't get me started on Clinton and Mena, Arkansas, and I think I talked about that previously. The CIA bringing in drugs into America, into Arkansas, when Clinton was the governor, and that I believe was when Bush was the vice president, and then all of a sudden Clinton goes up against Bush. So 2 people connected with drug trafficking in America were running for president at the same time. So either way, whoever won, they were involved in drug trafficking in the United States of America. Yeah, that election. You didn't know that back in 1992. You see, I mean, do we see how all these weird things interlace with each other? Right, I'm just saying. So, you know what, brother? Crow, I'm glad you said that. Let me load this clip up, because it actually talks about how AIPAC deals with black politicians who think they're independent. Just in case anyone's confused and think it's just so. Brother Crow said, okay, I didn't see that. As far as I know, I haven't heard her say anything. So yeah, so she ain't said nothing about it. Okay. Well, hey, if anybody has any documentation of her talking about that, send it to me or let us know. But in the meantime, I'm gonna pause and play.
Israel Public Affairs Committee, better known as AIPAC, is targeting some members of the Congressional Black Caucus over their views on the Israel-Hamas conflict. The pro-Israel lobbying group is upset with members of the so-called squad for demanding a ceasefire in both Israel and Gaza due to violence that has resulted in the deaths of at least 1,200 people in Israel and more than 11,000 in Gaza, including mostly women and children. AIPAC has vowed to spend up to $100 million to endorse primary challengers, who the group believes can unseat incumbents Jamal Bowman, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Cori Bush, Summer Lee, and the remaining squad members in the 2024 midterm elections. Lee tweeted, "One PAC promising to spend $100 million against 5 working class, Black and brown reps in working class districts is why we can't have a representative democracy." I don't know. What if we had governing that reflected our community's needs instead of AIPAC's? Squad member Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez took to X and stated, "Gotta spend $100 million to unseat the few who believe in Palestinian human rights and a ceasefire that most Americans already support. The acceptable level of dissent is 0. And the 2022 midterm elections, AIPAC endorsed 109 Republican congressional members who voted to overturn the 2020 presidential election. The lobbying group was also a top donor for House Speaker Mike Johnson's 2022 re-election campaign in Louisiana. Now the group has its sights on finding candidates that will unseat all 8 members of the squad.
All right. So we saw that. Here's the thing. When they talked about that, AOC, who, pretending to be some type of super liberal, whatever. You want to know the interesting thing about AOC, real quick? AOC is supported you. So all that talk. You know what I'm saying? She just masquerades, man. It's a front. She's pretending. She's part of the same team. And they don't tell us that. Right? Let me go to this real quick. I forgot. During October 2025 government shutdown, officials confirmed that funding to Israel will be unaffected. The shutdown halted some federal spending. The Trump administration considers funding Israel an essential security-related expenditure. It will continue as normal. However, pay for active duty U.S. military personnel, which is funded through annual appropriations, will be delayed. While the troops must continue to report for duty without a paycheck, Congress is legally obligated to provide back pay once the funding is released. Yeah. So, if your son or daughter or yourself is active duty military and you're overseas somewhere risking your life, wow, I mean, all types of things are going on. You just gonna have to wait for your check. But Israel's not gonna wait for their check. Man, what y'all want me to say, man? What I got to do? Who be y'all? Who's Black Power, brother Vincent Ali. Glad to see you in here. So this is what I mean. First of all, reintroduce myself. This is the Center. I'm your host, DC Radical 1. You can follow me on Instagram at DC.Radical1. On Twitter at DC Radical _ON. OTW2 at DC Radical 1. The Cash App with $DC Radical. And of course, if you would like to email me, you can email me at DC.Radical_1 at protonmail.com. Also, you can Zelle me funds using that same email address. And you're a small business owner, or you need promo or want promo for your business or your Instagram or whatever the case may be. You got a new book you wrote. new product, whatever the case may be, email me or DM me on Instagram, either or, and we can talk that. Because I'm doing a promo sale. Okay. Oh yeah, because I forgot to mention, we're up over 9,500 on Instagram, and headed for 1,400 here on YouTube, which would be 11. That's 11,000, right? 11,000 total accounts that we can reach. We're less than, we're almost at 10,000 on Instagram. And I know that doesn't sound impressive until you realize how long and how many times I've been shadowed on Instagram. So it's a low-key miracle, I ain't gonna lie. And I'm not gonna brag, but yours truly, my account on Instagram saw, and when I saw this, I couldn't believe it. 1 million views. Over 1 million views this year. So we have some reach. I don't know if we got any pull, but we got some reach. So what I'm gonna do, brothers and sisters, because I've been on here for 90 minutes already, I am going to play, speaking of advertisements, we're gonna play our Lost Tapes advertisement, and then we're gonna come back and finish up the last half hour, 45 minutes or so. Oh, wait a minute. Am I going to play the Lost Tapes advertisement? Let's see. But thus far, y'all tell me, have I proven beyond a shadow of a doubt the influence that Israel has on our, y'all let me know, and the control they have? Because there's some other things I could go into, but I'm not sure. Because I've already had 2 shows demonetized. I'm not trying to make being demonetized a habit. But I'm gonna run this clip. I'll be back and we'll finish it.
Now, we're going to go and talk about AIPAC. What is AIPAC? The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC. What does AIPAC do? AIPAC is the gangster with a whole lot of money that says, I'm going to buy you and pay you money, and you're going to make decisions that I want you to make. You're gonna do as I tell you, because I got my hands in your pockets. And they attached to people like Jeffrey Epstein, who take videos of the people that are supposed to be our representatives, and as they take those videos, they hold them hostage and say, vote as I tell you to vote. Do as I tell you to do.
I didn't even do concept. I saw Naeem Akbar talking that black talk he gave, and I was out there telling everybody. But this dude gay, you remember back in the 90s, he was hating me. I was like, dude gay, man, we can't do this. You can't be up there talking black and be gay too. I was like, okay, he out the way. No, we're not doing this. I'm saying this because I did not imagine a time, little old me from Southeast, where if they tell us to take a jab, stick ourselves, I'm gonna be the only one that wanna say something. Maybe the brother out in Whitaker, brother Darren, we got a few brothers, but I'm talking about like, I'm thinking whatever they tell us to do, we got black people who studied under these people, we gonna say no. Or we gonna at least wanna investigate. I'm thinking it'll always be that way. I'm thinking if somebody's pushing this stuff, R. Kelly molesting children, we're gonna deal with this dude. I'm thinking everybody's gonna agree with that, because you don't mess with children.
That's right.
That's what I thought was, that's just how I thought we were, and that is who we are intrinsically, but I'm saying, I didn't imagine a world where I'm saying, don't vote for this dude. It's a trick. Come on, y'all. He's a mulatto who didn't grow up around black people. He a gay dude. He gonna push homosexuality. Y'all can't see this? I'm thinking, I'm telling y'all before he get in office, what are you talking about? And people who are the hardest nosed people in African nationalism, I mean the hard ones, looking at me, nah, you can't do that, dude. Y'all don't see this? I'm actually the only one that's gonna say, yo, you don't see. And then when he gets in and does what I say he does, okay, I saw. You messed up the first time. Okay, I saw. I'm thinking, okay, but now he going back for office. He done already made gay marriage legal. All right, now you get it. The dude, I told you he was a punk, he was a gump in the beginning. I still couldn't conceive. No, dude. If you're looking for somebody else to do it, you ain't studied the lessons of history. When you're passionate and pulled to do something and can't stop, it's a message being given to you. Ain't nobody coming. You gotta believe in yourself because somebody decided that you was supposed to do something. So you can't turn it off and stop looking for people. You just gotta do what you do. We looked in the past, 1972. I was born in 1973. I'm almost 50 years old. I'm 50 in December. A year before I got here, they must have known I was coming. They said, let's get this thing out here now before you get here. They did what's called the Gay Rights Platform of 1972. This is this official document, sharing information. If you read, go look that up online for yourself. They're making it difficult to find. I don't know if people have been noticing this, but things that you used to get easily go and put it on the internet and find them, you can't find this stuff no more. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff you can't find. But I'm gonna bring your attention to just one. It's a bunch of stuff, all of it's aimed at children. Sex education to children, adoption, gay adoption of children. But there's one that's most important for what we're talking about today. And they break it down from the federal level and the state level. On the state level, they say every single state, they want laws repealing all laws governing the age of sexual consent. I'm gonna say that again. They want the repeal of all laws governing the age of sexual consent. Meaning a newborn baby, they want it to be legal to have sexual contact with a newborn baby. What year did I say? 1972. That's 51 years ago. Fast forward 21 years from then to 1993. In the interest of producing that result, they had right downtown, 30 minutes, not even 30 minutes if there's no traffic, go right up to East Capitol, all the way up the road, you run right into it. They had the 1993 Gay Rights March on Washington. Let's see what that was about.
Check one.
All right. Did y'all hear what they just said? So I need to play that again. He said, don't play it again. He said, no, thank you. All right, I want to do this again. They said, we're young, we're queer. We're going to do what? We're going to rule the world. Now remember, 21 years before that, what did they say that they wanted for children? Repeal all laws governing the age of sexual consent. They want to have sex with children and make it totally legalized. 21 years after they said that, they said we're young, we're queer, we're going to rule the world. That was in 93. This is 30 years after that. So they've had 30 years to say we're queer, we're going to rule the world, which at that point they said we haven't gotten to the point where we rule the world, because if they did, they wouldn't be saying that. They would say we're young, we're queer, and we rule the world. They didn't say that. We're young, we're queer, we're going to rule the world and have it our way.
Again, let me know if y'all can hear me. No. Greetings to Sister Sonia. What did you miss? You missed the all you missed was advertising. Well, no, you missed most of the show. I'm not gonna lie. You've missed a lot. But we're still on I'm still on, sis. I'm still on. Nope, that was just an advertisement. That wasn't the end. Yeah, I'm gonna be on for a few more minutes, but you can run it back because we covered a lot. So, all right, cool. I want to cover something that I was not aware of until recently, right? So here's a question that we should ask. I would definitely tell Brother Genie, send your love and support to him. Here's a question that many of us don't ask, right? Especially like if you grew up in the Black conscious community, or that's your background for like a number of years. We just see the U.S. supporting Israel and just kind of think, okay, well, that's a group of Europeans, and that's a group of Europeans over there, and they support each other, right? But think about the history that we kindly omit. The number one, and I found this out, and I was like, whoa, the number one European ethnic group in America is not Anglo-Saxon, it's actually Germanic. Think about what I just said. The number one ethnic group in America is actually Germanic, not Anglo-Saxon, because they were the ones that came over, later on as they start bringing in waves and waves of Europeans, right? The number one people who have had problems with Jewish people in Europe, well, I'll say the number two. The number one is Russia. Okay, and again, I played the clip where the Jewish person that's went bonkers on Russia. Like he lost his mind. Number two, Germans. Remember, Jewish people haven't been put out of 54 countries in Africa. Jewish people have been put out of 109 different places, mostly in Europe. Many of them parts of what became Germany and then actual Germany, right? So, if that's the case, how in the world is it that America supports Israel so much? Well, I found the answer. Let's go into this, because it's really interesting. This says the Schofield Bible, the book that makes Zionists of America's evangelical Christians. Now, let us go back. What did I say earlier? I said that there was a book called by Martin Luther, who is the founder of Protestantism. In other words, the wing of Christianity that goes against Catholicism. Because originally, Christianity and Catholicism was Christianity in essence, right? As for in the Western, right? Then you had the Church of England, but then Martin Luther came and said, "Look, all of this is wrong. This is what's in the Bible. This is what Jesus said. This is what we're going with. They don't know what they're talking about. This is the answer." Right? And then everybody branched off of that. Well, Martin Luther wrote a book. I ain't said, you know what? I need to look it up. Martin Luther wrote a book. The book was called The Jews and Their Lives. Now, why did he write that book? I don't know. I don't have a copy of the book. Now you're going to say, DC, why you don't have a copy of the book? I didn't know the book existed till like 4 or 5 years ago. No, actually, 5 years ago, we've been doing it since the pandemic, or maybe like 4 years ago. Like I had heard of Martin Luther and stuff like that, but I didn't know he wrote a book. To me, I was just like, huh? What? Why? Who? So therefore, if the founder of Protestantism has a book like that, somebody has to make a book to fight against that book. And that book happened to be the old Schofield Bible. So let's get into it. It says, this is a copy of the Schofield Bible Study Bible. The renowned study Bible features a traditional typesetting and preferred by many longtime old Schofield readers. Enlightening introductions, complete outlines, subheadings, and a complete chronology for each book of the Bible. Right? Now, let's get into it. It says, for a nation to commit the sin of anti-Semitism brings an inevitable judgment. The New Schofield Bible, since it was first published in 1909, think about it. This book was published before 1913, which means it was published before the Federal Reserve was instituted in the United States. The Schofield Bible has made uncompromising Zionists out of tens of millions of Americans. When John Hagee, the founder of the Christians United for Israel, said that 50 million evangelical Bible-believing Christians unite with 5 million American Jews standing together on behalf of Israel, it was a Schofield Bible that he was talking about. Think about that. 50 million evangelicals worship Israel. Right? And that's why Charlie Kirk was brought in under that wing. Now, it says, although the Schofield reference Bible contains the text of the King James Authorized Version, it is not the traditional Protestant Bible, but Cyrus I. Schofield's annotated commentary that is problematic. More than any other factor, it is Schofield's notes that have induced generations of American evangelicals to believe that God demands an uncritical support for the modern state of Israel. Here's what's interesting. The Bible was written before the modern state of Israel was put in place. Right? Because the modern state of Israel was put into place in what, 1947? 1948? So that's what's interesting. So that means this plan was put into play before Israel actually existed. Think about that part. It says, central to Christian Zionist belief in Schofield's commentary on Genesis 12:3 says, I will bless them that bless thee, in fulfillment closely related to the next clause, and curse them that curse him. Wonderfully fulfilled in the history of the dispersion. Right? That's part of the commentary. Y'all give me a second. Quick second. Quick second. Okay. I thought I had to sneeze, so I didn't want to sneeze all over the mic and sneeze in everybody's head. Y'all crazy. All right, let me get back to the Schofield. Bible. I wish I had some biblical scholars in there. The Hebrew brother that normally shows up sometimes, he would be good for this. Yeah, he would be all over this. Now, it says, go back. And this is from Genesis 12:3. It says, wonderfully fulfilled in the history of the dispersion. It was invariably fared ill with the people who had persecuted the Jew, well with those who had protected him. The future will still more remarkably prove this principle. Drawing on Schofield's rather tendentious interpretation, Hagee claims the man or nation that lifts a voice or hand against Israel invites the wrath of God. Now, let's start right here. Can we start right here? Let's start right here. Let's think about it. Germany, right? They raised more than a hand against Israel. You know what I'm saying? Has any tidal waves, typhoons, plagues, or anything like that attacked Germany to y'all knowledge in the last, 80 years? I'm asking. But you know what has happened in the last 80 years? You can't say nothing bad about Israel and Germany in the last 80 years, I tell you that much. I've seen Europeans talk about that. Germans talk about that. Germans who challenged the history of the Holocaust, that's their thing. I wasn't over there. I've actually been to Germany, by the way. I've been to Germany. Lived there for a couple of years. But yeah, you can't say nothing bad about that. You can't question the history. You can't even bring no documentation. Like, you can't do no scientific study. Like, you can't none at all. That's in Germany. You can't think about what I just said. You can't study German history in Germany based on this subject matter. Tell me how much power that is to tell a man that he can't study his own history in his own country. See, we don't know these types of things and these types of fights because we don't be paying attention. Yeah. Think about how deep that is, right? You know, think about America. Like, see, we don't think about this part. We think that America, that white people don't want to talk about slavery because of their guilt. But we don't realize who the ones telling them, yeah. Take down the statues. Yeah. Don't talk about that. Yeah. Erase that history. Because if you scratch underneath the surface, when you get past the regular white person, who are you going to find that owned plantations? Who are you going to find that was funding the Confederacy? They never tell you about Judah P. Benjamin. He was in a command in the Confederacy and funded the Ku Klux Klan. You heard what I said. The man's name is Judah P. Benjamin. We ain't got to question who he is. He gets no more Jewish than that. The Klan, he left the country after the Confederacy rose. The Klan went and found him in Europe, got money from him, and came back and started the Ku Klux Klan that was terrorizing black people post-Reconstruction. After that, when the Klan rose the second time, when Birth of a Nation came out, who do you think made Birth of a Nation? When black people were being terrorized and brutalized, because people saw a movie that the president of the United States at the time co-signed and act like that was real history, when it was a bunch of lies to cover up the fact that a factory owner in Atlanta, Georgia, was violating little girls and killed Mary Fagan. That wasn't no black man that did that. They found out the black man was not the perpetrator. And they put him on the stand, and he was the first black man to be allowed to, to testify against a white man. Right? And that's how the ADL started. Now, y'all help me out, because I forgot the man's name. What was the man's name that violated little Mary Fagan and deleted her? That whole incident started at ADL. Y'all help me out, because I'm drawing a blank right now. And as Brother Jenny said, he was the original Epstein, Leo Frank. And it was deep to this day. Now that's been like 100 years ago. The Leo Frank, they're still trying to legislate the Leo Frank case and act like he's free. And they got plays up on Broadway trying to act like Leo Frank was some good guy or some hero or something, when he was nothing but a violator of children. Are y'all listening to what I'm saying? Leo Frank was Epstein before Epstein. Why y'all tell me I got my back? That's what we're dealing with. So how in the world do you get a group of people to co-sign people who are doing things to them? Because we know they doing stuff to us, but they doing things to them. Mary Fagan was a little Caucasian girl that Leo Frank violated and deleted. She wasn't a little black girl. Right? Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking a lot of little European girls. Not a bunch of black girls. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? I'm telling you, the way that they treat us is the way they get treated by the synagogue of Satan. Right? So let's get, but how do you control the mind of a people like that? To make them not see the same way they got us worshiping people that don't look like us, they got these people worshiping them. It's the same tactics. We can recognize it because they use it on us. That's what this Schofield Bible is about. But let me get back into this all. Says, but as Stephen Sizer points out in his definitive critique, Christian Zionism Roadmap to Armageddon, the promise when referring to Israel's descendants speaks of God blessing them, not of entire nations blessing the Hebrew nation, still less the contemporary secular state of Israel. A what? Secular state of Israel. Notwithstanding this more orthodox reading, the New Schofield Bible, published by Oxford Press in 1984, intensifies Schofield's interpretation by adding, for a nation to commit the sin of anti-Semitism bring inevitable judgment. Sustained by dubious exegeses of selected biblical texts, Sizer concludes Christian Zionism's particular reading of history and contemporary events sets Israel and the Jewish people apart from other peoples in the Middle East. It justifies the endemic racism intrinsic to Zionism. What did I say? It justifies the endemic racism intrinsic to Zionism. What did he say? Racism is intrinsic to Zionism. I have said before, and I will say again, and Dr. John Henry Clark has agreed with me because he said it first. In essence, when you really think about it, it is Zionism, or the chosen people concept, applied to Europeans, that is the father of modern racism. Think about that. Now, he says that exacerbates tensions between Jews and Palestinians and undermines attempts to find a peaceful resolution of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, all because the Bible tells them so. First of all, there can't be any peaceful resolution, because two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time. That is a law of physics. So one of those things has to be removed. Now, and let's ask ourselves, do the people who admittedly come from Europe belong there? Or do the people who are there belong there? Or is there even more ancient people who was there first who ain't even part of the discussion? Well, let's get back to the article. In his 2008 book, The Rise of Israel, A History of a Revolutionary State, Jonathan R. Edelman describes the crucial support Israel receives from Christian fundamentalists as totally fortuitous. That assertion is belied, however, by the incredible career of the man who wrote the Bible of fundamentalism. 2 years after Schofield's reported conversion to Christianity in 1879, the Atchison Patriot was less than impressed. Describing the former Atchison resident as the late lawyer, politician, and shyster generally, the article went on to recount a few of Schofield's many malicious acts. These included a series of forgeries in St. Louis, for which he was sentenced to 6 months in jail. Being a born-again preacher did not preclude Schofield from becoming a member of an exclusive New York men's club in 1901. Oh, hey, man, listen. I'm gonna just be honest. Gotta watch some men's clubs. Gotta watch some, hey, Europeans and men's clubs. And, you know, I ain't going there. Y'all know what it is. Anyway, it says, the admission of Schofield to the Lotus Club, which could not have been started by Schofield, strengthened the suspicion that has cropped up before, that someone was directing the career of C.I. Schofield. That someone, Canfield suspects, was associated with one of the club's committee members. The Wall Street lawyer Samuel Hunter. As Canfield intimates, Schofield's theology was most helpful in getting fundamentalist Christians back to the international interests of one of Untermeyer's pet projects, the Zionist movement. Others have been even more explicit about the nature of Schofield's service to the Zionist agenda. In Unjust War Theory, Christian Zionism and the Road to Jerusalem, Professor David W. Lutz writes, Untermeyer used Schofield, a Kansas City lawyer with no formal training in theology, to inject Zionist ideas into American Protestantism. Untermeyer and other wealthy and influential Zionists whom he introduced to Schofield promoted and funded the latter's career, including travel in Europe. On one of these European trips, Oxford University Press publisher Henry Prouty expressed immediate interest in Schofield's project. So now we know who published it. According to a biography of Prouty, although the OUP publisher was not demonstrative in his religious views, all his Christian life he was associated with brethren known as exclusive. The exclusive brethren refers to the group of Christian evangelicals in an 1848 split in the Plymouth Brethren, followed by John Nelson Darby, the Anglo-Irish missionary, generally considered to have been the most influential figure in the development of Christian Zionism and a major influence on Schofield. So, okay, wow, interesting. Had the Schofield Bible never been published, American presidents influenced by Christian Zionism, such as Truman, Johnson, Reagan, and George W. Bush, might have been less sympathetic to Israeli demands and consequently more attentive to U.S. interests. Moreover, the American people could have been spared the pseudo-Christian rants of John Hagee, Pat Robertson, and the late Jerry Falwell, not to mention the lucrative end times rapture prophecies peddled by Hal Lindsey and Tim LaHaye. But it is the people of the Middle East who have been most affected by expansionist Israel, emboldened by the unswerving allegiance of Christian Zionists, led to believe that Schofield's words are God's will. Not least among the many victims of the Schofield Bible are 5 million Palestinian refugees whose right to return is fervently opposed by America's Zionized Christians. Thanks to their indoctrination by Schofield's unholy book, they believe that Palestine belongs not to Palestinians, many of whom are fellow Christians, but exclusively to God's chosen people. Now, I just want to point out a contradiction real quick, because we looked at the Schofield Bible. We looked at, how it has affected Europeans and American evangelical Christians. But I just want to look at this real quick. This passage, these are some passages from the Talmud, right? It says, quoting from another Talmudic passage about Jesus, Sanhedrin 43a, on Passover Eve, they hanged Jesus of Nazareth. He practiced sorcery, incited and led Israel astray. With Jesus of Nazareth deserving of a search of an argument in his favor, he was an enticer, and the Torah says, "Thou shalt not spare, nor shalt thou conceal." That's what the Bible says. The Talmud says that Jesus was a sorcerer, practiced sorcery, and so he deserved what he got. The Sanhedrin 107b of the Babylonian Talmud says Jesus stood up a brick to symbolize an idol and bowed to it. Jesus performed magic and incited the people of Israel and led them astray. They called Jesus an idolater and a sorcerer. This is what this is in the Talmud. This is Jewish religion. Now let's check this out. This says, he, the rabbi, then went and raised by incantations the sinners of Israel. He asked them, "What is your punishment?" And he replied, "For boiling in hot excrement." The Talmud decrees that Jesus is in hell being boiled in feces because he opposed the rabbis. This is not what I'm saying. I'm saying this is what they believe. Right? In fact, there's videos of that. I'm gonna find some of the videos of them saying that. So on one hand, right, the Christians believe in the divinity of Israel, but on the other hand, the Jews believe that the God of the Christians is in hell, boiling in escrow. Take all the time that you need to process the information that I just said. Okay, I mean, look, I'm gonna be honest. As black people, listen, y'all thought we had it bad. Y'all thought we were worshiping people that hate us. We ain't the only ones in America worshiping people that hate us, and we don't have any idea. Look, these some of us know. These people they just following along the cliff, right? I mean, and sister says the Talmud is full of filth. Listen, as an understood. Hold on, my bad. Absolutely, that's all I was saying. Yeah, that's all I was saying. That Talmud bad. And here's the thing: to get authentic stuff from the Talmud, I was to see how much some authentic stuff was that they're sending to you. Right? It was like $1,000. And I was gonna go through that thing, but now the time that we're in, so much stuff is happening. I don't have time. Like you gotta kind of know what's going on, right? You kind of gotta know what's going on. But I just wanted to show that this is how basically white America, a large portion of white America, got caught up into this to support Israel no matter what. This is how. That's the mechanism. It's fulfilled by 100 years of indoctrination, right? So forget the whole part of John 8:4, I believe 8:43, and moving forward, where Jesus is debating and he says, ye are of your father the devil, the lust of your father you shall do. He was a liar from the beginning, and the father of lies and a murderer. Right? That Jesus was debating with the Jews, and this is what he said. He called them beasts. He called them a bunch of devils. Yeah, brother, I don't have that clip, but yeah. That's an involvement too. Yeah. Jeffrey Epstein was. I said in the lecture. Jeffrey Epstein was practicing his religion, if you understand it properly. You know what I'm saying? So I want to deal with one last president, President Kennedy, and let me go. This article got what it's got what it says. President John F. Kennedy worried that Israel's nuclear program was a potential serious proliferation risk, and insisted that Israel permit periodic inspections to mitigate the danger, according to declassified documents published today by the National Security Archives. Nuclear Proliferation International History Project and the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies said that Kennedy pressured the government of Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion to prevent a military nuclear program, particularly after staged mandate tours of the Dimona facility for U.S. government scientists in 1961 and 1962 raised suspicions within U.S. intelligence that Israel might be concealing its underlying nuclear aims. Kennedy's long-run objective, documents show, was to broaden and institutionalize inspections of Dimona by the International Atomic Energy Agency. On May 30th, 1961, Kennedy met Ben-Gurion in Manhattan to discuss bilateral relationship and Middle East issues. However, a central and indeed first issue in their meeting was the Israel nuclear program, about which President Kennedy was most concerned. According to a draft record of their discussion, which was never been cited and is published here for the first time, Ben-Gurion spoke rapidly and in a low voice, and some words were missed. He emphasized the peaceful economic development-oriented nature of the Israel nuclear project, which we know is a lie. Nevertheless, the note-taker, Assistant Secretary of State Phillips Talbot, believed that he heard Ben-Gurion mention a pilot plant to process plutonium for atomic power, and also that there is no intention to develop weapons capacity, which we now know is a lie. Ben-Gurion tacitly acknowledged that the Dimona reactor had military potential, so Talbot believed he heard. The final U.S. version of the MemCom retained the sentence about plutonium, but did not include the language about pilot plant or weapons capacity. The difference between the two versions suggests that the difficulty of preparing accurate records of meetings. But whatever Ben-Gurion actually said, President Kennedy was never wholly satisfied with the insistence that Dimona was strictly a peaceful project. Neither were U.S. intelligence professionals. A recently declassified national intelligence estimate on Israel, prepared several months after the meeting and published it for the first time, concluded that Israel may have decided to undertake a nuclear weapons program. At a minimum, we believe it was decided to develop its nuclear facilities in such a way as to put it into position to develop nuclear weapons promptly should it decide to do so. It's the only NIE where the discussion of Dimona has been declassified in its entirety. Declassified documents reveal that more than any other American president, John F. Kennedy was personally engaged with the problem of Israel's nuclear program. He may also have been more concerned about it than any of his successors. All U.S. president in the nuclear age, Kennedy was the non-proliferation president. Let's stop right here. Why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up for one reason. Okay, thank you, Sebastian Atkins. I'm bringing this up for one reason. And I have covered this on another program, John F. Kennedy opposed Israel before he was even president. He wrote letters to his father talking about, hey man, what they doing over there to the Palestinians and stuff, man, that stuff is wrong. That's not very godly. When he got into office and they wanted nuclear weapons, he like, wait a minute, hold up. Like, I don't know if we can trust y'all with that. Like, let me see what's going on. And then when they start looking around, they're like, wait a minute, man. I think we need to put a stop to this. And then, ironically, Mr. Kennedy stopped breathing. And then the man that allegedly caused Mr. Kennedy to stop breathing because Jack Rubenstein assassinated the assassin of John Kennedy on TV in front of the whole world. How does a man named Jack Rubenstein walk up to a man accused of assassinating the president of the United States and shoot him while cameras are there? You tell me. I mean, this, I can't make this stuff up. You can look it up. Yeah, Jack, they've been telling us for 50, 60 years the man's name was Jack Ruby. The man's name was Jack Rubenstein. We ain't got to tell you who Jack Rubenstein is. The name speaks for itself. So that's what happens when people start questioning or opposing certain people, right? So when you go back and look at the Charlie Kirk thing, think about this for a minute. Charlie Kirk, whatever you think about him, had the ear and the mind of millions of young white conservatives. And there is the belief that he was beginning to question Israel. We already showed he questioned the whole October 7th thing, but he was beginning to question Israel in general and to question the effect that they had on American people, right? And then what happened? Well, coincidentally, he stopped breathing. Now, I'm going to play you a clip because ain't no reason for you to listen to me. I wasn't, I barely knew who Charlie Kirk was a few months before he got removed from the planet. I'm going to let you listen to people that know. And then we're going to listen, and then we're going to come to some conclusions, and we're going to close out from there. So, we're going to let video do the talk.
Which is that a lot of these figures many of them who are claiming Charlie Kirk's legacy as their own, from Netanyahu to Bill Ackman, were simply lying. And she did know that he was undergoing a change. She was probably pushing him in that direction. She certainly was, along with other figures. So we'll never know where he would have led the conservative movement had he lived on. I think if he had undergone a real spiritual transformation, he would have changed all of his views and disbanded his organization, but that's just how I interpret the world. But on this point, she was also referring to rumors, which she, knowing Charlie Kirk, has better insight into than I do, that he was actually getting interested in Catholicism. Charlie Kirk was a Christian Zionist who came out of Protestant evangelical Christianity, which sees Israel as covenant land given to the Jews by God to fulfill Revelation, which will eventually be the landing pad for the Messiah and the basis of the rapture. And he was moving away from that, moving away from his pastor, Rob McCoy, who's basically part of his organization, and was beginning to attend Catholic Mass with his wife. It's true that he was attending Catholic Mass with his wife. And after his death, his communications director, Andrew Colvett, sort of tried to spin it as they were just enjoying the view inside the Catholic Church. But had he left Christian Zionism, that would have been a sign, and that was that he was seeking to move the conservative movement away from Christian Zionism as well. There was nothing. He was a figure that sort of transcended Israeli influence, but at the same time, he depended on the Zionist donor class. But he was a larger-than-life figure within the conservative grassroots, so he had the capacity to lead them away from Christian Zionism. And again, after his death, Ben Shapiro, one of the leading Israel First voices in sort of pseudo-conservative, conservative incorporated media, co-hosted Charlie Kirk's show and announced that he was making $1 million donation to encourage more young people to come to Christ. Very weird statement, especially from someone who doesn't believe Christ is the Messiah because he's Jewish. But also weird because where did Ben Shapiro get $1 million? His organization, the Daily Wire, is collapsing. They canceled everyone's credit cards last year. Their offices are shuttering. It wasn't working. Ben Shapiro is like an AstroTurf fake creation. No one actually likes listening to him. And so he has $1 million to give to TPUSA to encourage people to come to Christ. That's not what's going on there. Some Zionist billionaire gave him $1 million to gift to them so that they would encourage people to come to Christian Zionism, which, according to Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk was moving away from. So we can clearly see what's happening here. And who is taking over TPUSA? Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica Kirk, who is said to be a Catholic, who has not come out and shut Candace Owens down yet. I don't know where she stands, but they are building her up at this point and using her to raise money over Charlie Kirk's casket. And they're basically promising her political stardom in the future. So is she going to actually take on the Zionist donor class? I don't think so. I think they're going to come back in and use TPUSA to retrench their power in the United States the same way that they did that they're doing with CBS and TikTok and every other entity that they can buy. And there's really nothing that I can see standing in their way now.
That was Max Blumenthal basically outlining the takeover of the United States of America by Zionist forces. He said they're going to use Turning Point USA. They bought CBS. They bought TikTok. What's his name? Larry Ellison from Oracle now owns TikTok. So the type of discussion that we're having here today, you will not have that on TikTok. I'm not sure you're going to have it on YouTube much longer, to be honest. I have no idea, which is why I'm doing it now. He said he doesn't see anything getting in their way of total control. This isn't DC Radical One. This is Max Blumenthal. I don't know Max Blumenthal. We ain't friends. We don't know each other. We don't agree with him. But this is him saying, I don't see nothing standing in their way of total control of your government and your nation. Because if they control the government and they control the media and they control the money, what left is there to control? Because if you control the government, the media, and the money, you control the military. Right? If I control the president, I control the military. Control the Congress, I control the military, because Congress is actually supposed to be the one to declare war or not declare war. And the president is the commander-in-chief. Well, I already showed you they control the current president, and they probably control they've controlled basically every president since Kennedy, as far as I'm concerned. One way or another. That's why I call Kennedy the last American president. Because everybody else has been a slave of the synagogue of Satan. So, with that, brothers and sisters, I thank you all for listening. Listen, and for those of you who are not my brothers and sisters, but you tuned into the show because you were interested in the subject matter, I thank you all for listening and watching. I think I'm proving my point tonight. So I'm going to say this. Follow me on Instagram at dc.radical1, on Twitter at dc_radical_ONE. You can donate via Cash App, $DCRadical1, and you can email me at dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com. And you can donate via Zelle using that email address. Tomorrow we'll be doing SBL talk. We'll be discussing and it's up. Can the black man receive any respect from the modern American black woman? And before y'all attack me, this was actually Sister Najee's idea, because she said, well, what we've been talking about, you ain't gonna want to talk about it. And I was like, what is that? And I swear it seemed like it took her hours to answer. And then she said the whole Aisha Curry thing. So we're going to talk about that, man. Like, what is going on? We got Aisha Curry. We got Jada Pinkett Smith. We got Michelle Obama. And as I know it's somebody else. These wives of these rich, powerful, influential black men these women have just been airing out the dirty laundry and low-key calling their husbands all types of names and talking about they didn't want them and they're glad they ain't had sons by them and all types of wild stuff. What is happening? You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be a totally different discussion from tonight. That's tomorrow's discussion. And also be on the lookout, because I had two videos demonetized. I took them down. I'm going to put them back up and rebroadcast them Monday and Tuesday. And also, I had a video that I posted yesterday. Do not ignore that video. Go back and watch that video. That video covers what happened with the Burkina Faso and ADDI and why they didn't let in brothers and sisters from the diaspora. So that was actually Sister Najee bringing that information to us. So go back to the page, go back through the videos, go back. If you missed most of this, go back through this one. The information is valuable. You won't be disappointed. And that's all I'm gonna say on that. So with that, I thank you all for listening. And I say, a beautiful ODA and straight black pride. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow us on our other social media platforms. On Instagram, we're at dc.radical1. On Twitter, we're at dc_radical_ONE. And the Cash App is $DCRadical1. Again, thank you for subscribing. A big for ODA and straight black pride.